we not only get to come here, someone's paying us to do this. So like we were always just like, I can't believe it. Like we thought one day we were going to turn on the lights and be like, oh, that was all a joke, you know? So it was a blessing. It was really cool.
So thank you so much for joining me. This is Louie. He's a
Hey,
good friend
hey.
of mine. He's one of my favorite people here in Bali. I'm so honored to know him. I think he's just such a rad guy, and he's just got so much, like so much good energy and such a good story that I thought he could be someone that might inspire you guys as much as he's inspired me. So
Oh,
thank you so much again, and
for
maybe
sure.
introduce yourself, like who you are, where you're from, or in any way that you want.
All right. Well, first, I want to say that the feeling's mutual. You're super awesome. So I'm happy to be doing this with you, and I'm glad to know you. But my name's Louie. I'm from Long Beach, California. I'm 30 years old, about to be 31 actually on Sunday. Hey. But yeah, living in Bali now for a little over 3 years. And it's a blessing to be here for sure. Super nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, happy early birthday. Yeah, what's it like to be here in Bali during quarantine for you?
You know what? That's a funny question. I almost left when this whole thing was kicking off. And I think you almost did the same. And I'm now kind of progressing through this. I'm so happy that I decided to stay. Obviously, I miss my family, which is back in California, but it's still so peaceful here. You know, not so many people around. There's no traffic. It's kind of serene. So it was a good decision for me to stay. I like it. I like being here. Everything's quite slow. Business is slower, but no worries. It's still super nice. We're still lucky, I think, to be here.
Yeah, so business. Tell me about your business.
Well, I have a business called Rise and Shine Cafe. It's a coffee shop and breakfast shop, and right here in Canggu. And right now we're doing. It's pretty slow, as you can imagine, but we're still making enough to survive. We still have a lot of really awesome, loyal, repeat customers that live around us in our neighborhood. So that's been really nice. It's been a blessing, and we're still able to keep all of our staff employed, which was, the most important, aspect for me. So yeah, we're making it. We're making it happen. So we'll get through this. I'm not worried. Uh,
Incredible. Incredible
yeah,
because not a lot of businesses can say the same, right?
for
Um,
sure. We've been lucky.
yeah, for you to be able to keep your staff and everybody employed, that's amazing. I love getting food and coffee from your place. Like your coffee beans are amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate
Exclusively
that.
buy your coffee beans because I mean, not only it's good, but it just makes you feel good to be able to, like support you in that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's awesome. And like you said, we've been super lucky because just in the type of business that we are, people need to eat. So other businesses, whether it's hospitality or, whatever it may be, we've been lucky to be able to just remain open through all this. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah. And one thing that you miss is your family. So maybe you can share a bit about where you're from in Long Beach and what like growing up was like for you.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up, actually, I was born in a town right outside of Long Beach called San Pedro, and pretty normal childhood, doing all the skating, surfing, just enjoying life. And I started when I was like 12 years old, I think. I want to say we took our first trip as a family. We went to Canada. And that was like the first time I remember realizing, like, wow, there's other people on this planet that like live differently than we do, and what I think everyone is supposed to live like, or everyone is living life. And I kind of opened my eyes to like, wow, I wonder what else is going on. So then a few years after that, we went to Mexico, and that was kind of a trip. And then from there, I just started traveling all around. But that was my first time realizing when I was young how big the world is and how many different cultures and aspects of culture there is out there. And that was like my eye opener. But pretty normal California life growing up. Yeah, it was good. I've been really blessed. I had a really nice childhood for sure.
That's awesome that you were able to surf and skate at such a young age. Like I started surfing like in my 20s and just worked. Like
Yeah, and I've surfed with you loads, and I can say definitely you have no fear, which is a huge part of surfing that you got to have. And I respect that a lot, because you're just like, here it comes. I'm late on this one, but I'm going, you know, you get it. So I love it.
For those of you watching, Louie and I actually met surfing. So
Yeah.
the day that Louie and I met, we were going out for a surf through friends, and that's kind of what started us meeting and started hanging out. We have like a really awesome crew of
Yep.
friends that like hang and surf and do all these fun things together. So
Yep.
that's super cool. So you had talked about your trip to Canada, right? And
Mm,
that opened your eyes
yeah.
to people living in a different way.
Yeah.
What was that like, that says sensation like for you, or that realization, if you could like slow that down and stretch it out?
I guess just as a kid, you never really think, at least I didn't, never really, I just thought like, oh, everybody grows up in a house and has a mom and a dad. And, you know, I just thought the world was the same, you know, just because I didn't know. So even going somewhere as close as Canada, where it's really like pretty similar to where I was growing up, I was still kind of like, wow, they have different looking roads and different foods and different drinks. And that was just a very small glimpse of like, wow, there's a lot more out there than what I thought. Even though it's pretty similar. The nature up there in British Columbia is amazing. But
Mm.
yeah, it was just a really interesting time. I remember thinking like, I wonder what else is going on in the world. And that was like the beginning of my curiosity, and kind of peek into traveling.
Yeah, so you've traveled to, like, I think I remember going through your socials and seeing that you've traveled to so many different places. So tell me about your travel experience. And
I started just backpacking really like during and after college is when I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go check out what's going on. So I just, you know, like a lot of us, took a backpack and just started cruising around. Southeast Asia was kind of like my first big one that I did by myself. And that was just from there, it's just like, all right, here we go, you know, just open up a whole new world. So yeah, I went through Southeast Asia, went through South America, Europe twice or a few times. I have family living in Europe, so it was a little bit easier for me to get over there and connect with people. Yeah, it was just off to the races. So I've been pretty lucky so far. I'm at 31. I want to keep it going. I want to keep
nice.
cruising. Yeah,
21 countries.
31. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yep.
You have a goal.
When I was a little bit younger, I was like, I just want to hit as many as I can. Now I'm kind of like, I don't care about the quantity. I just want to go and enjoy a place longer than I used to. Before, I would maybe stay in a place for a couple of days, 4 or 5 days or a week, and then move on. But now I like to take 2 weeks and just go chill and enjoy a place and really dive into it. So no goal as far as number, but still, there's still a lot to be explored for
Yeah.
sure. I'm barely scratching the surface.
What were the highlights? Like, you've never been on a trip by yourself. Like, what happened for you or to you, or like how did this experience shape you?
Hmm. Well, definitely like the first time that I went, I had a few friends who had done trips like that similarly. And so that was kind of my inkling to like, oh, I could do this, I guess, by myself. I don't need to take a bunch of friends with me. I can just go do my own thing. And they were giving me information on, you know, places they've been. And I was like, okay, this is doable. So it really came down. And the hardest part was just working and saving up the money and then finding the time and then going. But learning from it, definitely, I learned a lot about myself, a lot about how independent I can be, how I can like get myself through situations that might be sticky, or I don't know. I think it just, you learn about what what you can do and what you're not comfortable doing. And it's so much more than you would have ever thought, for sure, when you're out there. So
Right. So you have an idea of who you are,
right.
and this trip for you can
Mm-hmm.
really like meet you at your edge.
100%. Oh yeah,
That's cool.
because
Anything that you could share, like.
um, there's been quite a lot of moments really, but there's just things like traveling, and especially solo traveling and backpacking in general, or specifically, it looks so amazing. You see all these amazing places. Instagram makes it look super nice, but there's a lot of times when it can suck, you know, like, or when it can just, you get in a situation, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Nobody speaks my language. Where am I? I'm lost. I have no money. So like, you get into situations that test you. And I think that's part of why I like it. You know, it's not so comfortable all the time. It can be, but there's a lot of challenge to it. There's a lot of just figuring it out as you go, which is pretty cool as well. But yeah, there's been a number of times when I've been in some sticky situations for sure. And we went to South America, Central America, and we were going to take a sailing trip, a 5-day sailing trip. We went from Panama sailing through the San Blas Islands into Colombia. And it was on that particular trip, it was me, my brother Josh, and my buddy Derek. And we all meet up. There's a crew of 8 and a captain and his wife. And the captain was from Germany. He'd been sailing his whole life. So we knew he was a solid dude. But basically, all the ships were in the harbor in this little port town in Panama because the Coast Guard wasn't letting anyone leave. They were like, hey, nobody can leave. There's a major storm tonight. If you get shipwrecked, we can't come and help you. Like, just nobody can leave. And so we were all like, oh, shoot, I guess we're going to be delayed a day. And the captain was like, nah, we're going. Like, we're going. We're doing this. And we're like, well, what do you mean we're not allowed to go? And he's like, I fly under a German flag on my boat. They can't, in international waters, they can't do nothing. So we're like, you sure? And he's like, I'm sure we're going. So we're like, all right. So we're on this like 80-foot sailboat, really beautiful boat, but small in comparison to how vast and big the ocean is. It was really kind of scary, to be honest. The boat was fully like going vertical and we were slamming. And at one point I remember thinking like, this is not a good idea that we're out here. You know, this is a terrible idea. And long story short, we made it through the night. The next day, we were all sitting around. Most of the people on board were pretty seasick that night. Luckily, we were okay. We got the back of the ship, back of the boat. And the captain admittedly told us the next day, was like, that was the worst one I've ever done. That was probably a mistake. Sorry, like my bad. We shouldn't have done that, but we made it. So it was all right. Yeah. That's just one particular story, which was kind of fun looking back, but there's been many times. That one we didn't really have a choice. We're stuck, but a lot of times you got to figure it out on your own, you know.
Knowing the ocean through surf,
Hmm.
would you say that it was better that you surfed or worse knowing that how powerful the ocean was that day?
That's a tricky one because me and you are familiar with being in the ocean, being in the sea. We respect the power of it and how even a 3-foot wave can toss you. It can hold you under. It can really do some damage. So it was probably worse that I knew how powerful and how bad it could be, because I was like, oh man. But there was one point in the night I woke up and I was off the bed, like levitated up from a big, like, it was
Right.
nuts.
Oh man, that is a sticky situation.
For sure. That one, there's no getting out. You just got to ride the storm, you know?
Right.
After that, it was smooth sailing for the next 4 days, all good. But one night we're all chilling on the top deck of the boat, just relaxing after dinner. It's dark and you just hear this like, woo, and we're like, what's that? And the captain's like, oh, look out. And we see this big, like, you can describe it as like a cargo plane. And it was flying super low to the ocean. And we're like, what's up with that? And the captain's like, yeah, look, you see how it has no markings? He's like, that one's going under the radars. Huge cargo plane. And we're like, really? And we're like, is that like a drug plane? And he's like, no. He's like, that one's going into Colombia. They don't bring drugs into Colombia. They bring cash back in after they've taken it out. And we're like, oh shit. It was pretty interesting Wild West kind of scenario over there.
Yeah, like that's a cool freaking story. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It's like that is a movie story, right? There's like drugs, money,
Yep.
you're in the middle of the ocean.
Sure. Yeah, and that, I would say Southeast Asia, where we are, it's easy to travel around. It's comfortable. It's a good starting place for people to come and international travel for sure. South and Central America is definitely a bit more of a challenge. It's definitely like the next step of like, okay, really I'm on my own, you know, or it's definitely a little bit more challenging for sure.
In a dangerous way or in just like a
I
safe way?
never felt like my life was really in danger, maybe on the ship a little bit, but like I never felt like it was dangerous. The people are amazing there, the food's amazing, but it's definitely more challenging in that not a lot of people speak English for one. So you gotta get your Spanish going a little bit. You have to have something.
Right.
Like getting directions, places to stay. It's just all way more local than, in Southeast Asia, everything's like laid out for you. Like, hey, what do you need? You want to go on this tour? Would you like to go? Come on. So like, it's easy over here, which is nice. It's really super nice. It's a great spot. That's why we live here, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But over there, it can be like that in some places, but mostly it's like, who's this dude? What are you talking to me for? They're
Hmm.
just going about their day.
Yeah. Is there like a lesson maybe that you learned through traveling through some of your sticky situations?
Be prepared for anything, really.
Mm,
Just be
okay.
prepared and don't sweat it. The small stuff, of course, that sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
things are going to happen. You're going to get hangups. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the ups and the downs. That was really, I guess, one of the main thing I took away with it. Enjoy the ups, enjoy the downs. There's going to be both. You know, just enjoy the ride because
I
you're
love
going.
that. Yeah,
That's
that's a good lesson.
yeah, for sure.
Because it's inevitable, right? It's inevitable that things aren't going to go the way you planned. Things are probably going to go badly. And also,
Hmm.
things are going to go super well too.
Right,
And like take them as they come.
for sure, for sure, and enjoy them.
Yeah, enjoy them. What's there to be enjoyed about like a bad situation though?
Mostly just having beers after and laughing at it.
That's it. Yeah, right, right.
That's
Is there a place that you can't wait to go back to in all of the 31 countries that you've been to?
that's a really good question, and people ask me that a lot. Like, where's your favorite place? And definitely here in Bali is got to be in the very almost top, just because that's why we chose to live here, both you and I. But um, that's a hard one to say because I think most of the amazing times and memories of places that stick out in my mind is more so been for the people I was with, and the groups, the friends, the communities that you make. Those are really the highlights. You could be anywhere almost, and when you're with those special people, it makes the difference, right? So, but if I really had to choose like a location, I would probably say Nicaragua if I had to pick.
Okay.
It's really great there. But
What
yeah,
is it about Nicaragua?
well, first is because I went to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica is beautiful and amazing, but it's so expensive there. It was
Hmm.
like the same as in the States. So as soon as I got into Nicaragua, I was like, I'm rich again. Like when I was in Costa Rica, I'm like, I'm poor, you know? So on a backpacker budget, right? So yeah, Nicaragua is beautiful. People were awesome. Food is great. Surf was amazing, and really just kind of more untouched. Costa Rica is a lot more built up, but Nicaragua is just more natural. So
Hmm.
it's really nice.
I definitely want to make it out that way. So you mentioned something about like the people that you connect with. It seems to me that you connect with so many different types of people and super easily, right? Like,
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think that's always how I've been when I was young. I've always been the guy that has like friend groups with all the different groups, and that's been a blessing for me to be able to have that make communities in a lot of places. I think that's I've been blessed that that's something that I have been able to do.
yeah, and it comes so easily and naturally for you. And for some people, it's hard, and they desire to make these connections. What would you say to someone if they want to be more like that, more like you in that way?
Well, I should first say that I, like anyone, is still I'm still self conscious about things. I'm still, you know, I still lack confidence in some areas, but I think the main thing is to be able to be natural and be real with someone. I talk to people on the street all the time or just random people, and I think that's one thing that I learned to do over time was just not be shy and just if somebody's standing next to me and we're in a queue and just start, hey dude, like what's up, like just naturally. And I think that helped me break down the initial barriers of like always thinking people are thinking about you or whatever. It's just people are people. So
Yeah, that's a great perspective, right? Just knowing that people are people. We've
right.
all got our own thoughts, and just striking a conversation with someone, just
Yeah.
that small thing. there's just like this openness, right? And curiosity about people. You can learn so much from people who come from different places.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Which is, that's the cool part about it, is getting to learn. And that's the cool part about traveling, is you meet people from everywhere and you get to learn about them and learn about even just as small as like the way that they talk and the things that they say and the slang that they use. It's so interesting to me, all these different facets of people living around the world. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like not only do you have like a life, like a separate life of traveling to all of these different places, you also have a life at home
Mm.
and had a DJ career
Yeah.
at a younger age. And I thought that was super cool to learn about you. Like, how
Yeah.
did that transpire? And what was that like?
That that was a funny time when in my life, which I still am super grateful that I had that, because it's so, I guess, unusual in a sense that, I guess, so when I was 16, I bought a pair of turntables, and because I saw like guys on YouTube scratching and doing these things, I'm like, oh, it's so cool. So I saved up my money, and I, over like a year or something, and I bought turntables, and I would be in my room like for hours and hours and hours, just mixing music and just playing on these things. And over time, I started to learn how to make my own music. And after a couple of years, I started putting out some of my own tracks. And I used to make dance music, but it was like funky house music, basically. And and yeah, and it kind of just snowballed. And I met who's still one of my best friends, this guy named Alex, and we linked up. And he's an amazing musician. He's a pianist, and he's just super talented. So we kind of just combined our skills. And in college, we started putting out more music, and we were really lucky. We got linked up with some really good people, and we got an agent and this and that, and we started touring and doing these different stuff. And we were really lucky to be able to like travel around at such a young age. And that's part of what I guess was another factor in how curious I was about the world, because we got to travel around to Europe and South America and around the US playing music. And that was really interesting, being that young and doing
Oh,
that, which it was, I would say when we started traveling, I was probably 19, and
wow.
we probably kind of wrapped it up when I was like 24, 25. So it was
Mm,
like 4 or 5 years, and you're young adult, some places not even allowed to be in the club, really,
right.
like legally, which is kind of weird. But no, it was an amazing experience, really, really awesome. And I'm grateful for those times. And I'm glad that we have a lot of video of those times, like
Yeah.
tour videos and stuff, because that's just fun to look back on. But we were just dorks, we were just kids. So it was fun. It was awesome.
Do what you were passionate about, right?
Exactly.
It just started by like one video, you
Yeah,
being inspired, and you're like, and that planted a seed in you to save up your money. Like that takes commitment,
sure.
right? That passion that you had, that was, that started from watching something, and
Yep.
to get to the point where you were making your own stuff and things just kind of flowed, and all of a sudden you're 19 years old in these clubs and traveling around the world. Like what an incredible life.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And I think I'm glad that I had the mindset at the time to realize how lucky I was doing that.
Oh,
Because I remember we always used to look at each other like, dude, I can't believe someone's paying us to come here and make a party for these few thousand people or whatever. Like, we not only get to come here, someone's paying us to do this. So, like, we were always just like, I can't believe it. Like, we thought one day we were gonna turn on the lights and be like, oh, that was all a joke.
right.
So it was a blessing. It was really cool.
That's awesome that you had that perspective of gratitude throughout, right? Throughout the years of you doing that.
Yeah, I think that's important in life, just in general, to be grateful, even when it seems like everything sucks. You
Mhm.
know, to be grateful for the T-shirt you're wearing, for whatever, everything you got, because at the end of the day, if you don't have gratitude, you'd be bitter, I think.
Yeah, definitely. What um, did it take from you, right, to be a success in that way?
I think a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
a little
Okay.
bit of the right people in the right time connecting you in places. And I think just timing too. But also, as much of those things, which are kind of the lucky elements, definitely hard work and definitely determination and mailing press kits and, you know, just hours and hours and hours in the studio of us tweaking one sound to get it right. And just a lot of hard work. But the hard work for me, when I'm enjoying something, it doesn't seem like hard work because you just love it. You wanna say like, oh, I was just lucky and the timing was right, but it also takes you putting yourself in those positions yourself to begin with, like, you know, putting yourself out there, putting the time in, putting the effort, and eventually things just start to grow and bubble.
Yeah.
So
Right. So setting yourself up for the luck to take place.
yeah, for sure, putting yourself in the right time at the in the right place.
Right. It seems to me like you're being modest because like this hard work, right? It gets you noticed. Like the music that you put out is reflective of all of the hard work that you've put in, all of the time that you put in, like starting to DJ and create your own music, and then collaborating with your partner, and creating sounds that were unique and fun.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't seem like work, but how many hours would you dedicate to this craft?
um all, all day, all
Right.
day, many times. Yeah, it was thousands
Yes.
and thousands of hours, but in the end it was all worth it to see, like, even if, I mean, because we also played shows that were like 40 people,
Right.
especially when you're first starting. But to have a couple people who are really there enjoying it, and like that's what you're like, wow, they came to hear this, that we spent 40 hours making, people are enjoying it. So it's cool. That's always the payoff.
Right. And I bet some of like, especially in the beginning, right? Like these 40-person parties were maybe just as fun as those couple of thousand parties, like where you were at in your progression.
For sure, especially when like 30 of the 40 are like your friends. It's the
Which
most
is super
fun.
cool, yeah.
I was only like 6, 7 years ago, but it seems like I'm in a different stage of my life now. But I'm so happy I went through that, and I'm also kind of happy, to be honest, I'm not still doing that.
Why not?
um, it was so fun, but I think for me, I prefer a lifestyle that's more like mellow. It's a little bit wild in that kind of lifestyle. You're in nightclubs and you're at festivals and you're constantly moving, and it can kind of wear you down a little bit.
Yeah, that.
For sure.
What was, I guess, the biggest takeaway or big lesson for you during that time?
Nothing lasts forever. So enjoy the time, enjoy it while you get to do these things where you're lucky enough to do them, and then accept that the next part might even be better or will be different for sure. But
Right.
it's a journey, really. It's a progression. So when that chapter in my life closed, while it was sad, it's like, all right, what's next? Here we go. You know?
Yeah. I love that you're able to, yeah, have that lens of gratitude even throughout, right? Like throughout your travels, throughout this DJing career, and also this like positive outlook for what's next.
Yeah, I think that's important because, like, you and I, we both traveled and we've seen that a lot of places in the world are not the greatest.
Mhm.
So we're so lucky. Even when I was at home working a job that I maybe didn't like and I was just grinding and struggling, we're still lucky doing that, you know? So it's important to see life through that lens, I think.